The road narrows without warning. One moment, the car moves over smooth black pavement, the hum of tires steady and familiar. The next, the pavement breaks into pale gravel that snaps under the wheels. Dust rises behind the car and hangs in the air longer than it should. Trees lean closer from both sides, their branches brushing the sky like they are closing a door. The researcher slows down. He is alone. He has been alone since the last town, since the last gas station with its flickering light and quiet pumps. The radio lost signal an hour ago. Now it only breathes out static, low and tired, like the mountains themselves. He turns it off. On the passenger seat lies a folded piece of paper. The edges are soft from being handled too many times. The directions are drawn in blue pen. No street. Names, no distances. Just lines, curves, and short notes written in uneven letters. After the third bend, don't take the wide road. Take the smaller one. That is all. The old shopkeeper had drawn it without looking up. His fingers were stained with ink and tobacco. When asked for the village's name, the man had paused, long enough for the room to feel tight. Theirs. No use in names, he said at last. You'll know it if you see it. Then he slid the paper across the counter as if eager to be done. The gravel road dips and rises. The car sways gently, like a boat on shallow water. Fog begins to roll in from the trees, thin at first, then heavier. It moves low, hugging the ground. It eats the distance ahead, so the headlights cut only a few feet of pale air. The researcher checks the dashboard clock. Late afternoon, too early for fog like this. He opens the window an inch. Cold air slips inside. It smells wet, old, like stone and leaves left too long in shade. Another bend, then another. At the third bend, the road splits. The wider path curves left, smooth and pale, marked with faint tire tracks. The smaller path drops right, uneven and narrow, almost hidden behind tall grass and low brush. A wooden signpost stands between them, leaning hard to one side. He steps out of the car. The fog curls around his ankles. The ground feels damp through his shoes. The signpost creaks softly in the wind, though there is no real breeze. Its surface is rough, scarred by time. Letters have been scraped away, not worn down but cut, as if someone took care to remove them. No arrows. No names, just empty wood. He runs his fingers over the marks. They feel shallow but sharp, intentional from somewhere far off. A bird calls once. Then nothing answers it. He returns to the car and takes the smaller road. The engine sounds louder. Here, like it is trying too hard. Branches brush against the sides of the car, leaving thin lines of dirt. The fog thickens. The trees press in closer, their trunks dark and straight, their tops lost above. The road does not show on his GPS. The screen stays grey, a blank field with a small arrow floating alone. He zooms in, zooms out. Nothing changes, he tells himself. It is just a dead zone. Mountains do that dot still. He takes out his phone at the next stop and checks the map app. No road, no line. No hint that this path exists at all. He closes the app. The light fades faster than it should. The sky shifts from pale grey to deep blue, then to a heavy, colourless dark. Fog turns the headlights into long white tunnels that end too soon. The Road slopes downward. The researcher notices the silence first. No insects. No wind. No distant water. Even the engine seems quieter. Muffled, like sound cannot travel far here. He slows again. His hands grip the wheel tighter than before. He tells himself to relax, but his shoulders do not listen. The road bends one less. Time, and the trees begin to thin. A valley opens below. He stops the car. At first it looks empty. Just a low stretch of land wrapped in fog. Then, one by one, small points of light appear. Yellow, steady, warm, windows, lamps, houses, a village sits in the valley. Quiet and still, roofs barely visible through the mist. No lights, no moving. Cars? Just those soft, steady lights, as if waiting for night to fully arrive. The researcher leans forward, heart beating a little faster. He checks his phone again. No signal, no map marker, no location name. He zooms out as far as the screen allows. The mountains show, the towns he passed show. The road behind him shows. The valley does not. It is like a hole in the map. He turns the phone off and sits back. A strange feeling settles in his chest. Not fear, exactly. Something quieter. Like standing in a room where someone just stopped speaking. He remembers the way people in the last town avoided his eyes when he asked about the place beyond the ridge. How one woman crossed herself. How a man laughed once, sharp and too loud. Then walked away. No one said the name. The car clock ticks forward. Night deepens. The fog glows faintly with the village lights, like breath caught in cold air. He opens the door. The silence presses in again. Stronger now. He can hear his own breathing, slow and careful. The ground slopes gently downward, guiding him toward the valley. The road continues, but it feels less like a road now and more like a suggestion, a promise. He does not go down yet. Instead, he looks back over his shoulder. The fog has swallowed the road behind him. Trees stand close together, dark and tall. There is no clear sign of the way back, just shadow and pale mist. He closes the door softly. The car stays where it is, a small, dark shape at the edge of the unknown. He locks it, though he does not. Know why? The sound feels too loud. As he starts walking, the lights in the village seem to brighten. Just a little. Not enough to be sure, but enough to notice. And with each step downhill, the sense grows stronger that the place below has been. Aware of him for a long time. Waiting, the fog shifts, opening a narrow path forward. The road has disappeared, but the village remains. Morning comes without sunlight. The fog does not lift. It only thins enough to show shape and distance, like a curtain pulled back an inch. The village rests in a shallow bowl of land, wooden houses huddled close together, their roofs tilt toward one another, edges nearly touching, as if the buildings are afraid of the open air. The researcher stands at the edge of the road that no longer looks like a road. It fades into packed dirt and stone, worn smooth by many feet. His shoes sink slightly. With each step, the ground feels cold, even through the soles. No sound greets him. No rooster. No morning chatter. No doors opening. He walks forward. The houses are small, built from dark wood that has soaked up years of rain. Windows are sealed tight, boards nailed across them from the inside. Some have cracks where light leaks through, thin and weak. Above, every door hangs the same thing. A bundle of dried plants tied with red thread. Dark with age. Tealess, they sway gently, though the air is still. A woman passes him on the narrow path between houses. She bows her head slightly. Her face is calm, polite, and empty, like a mask worn too long. She says nothing and keeps walking. Further in, an old man sits on a low stool, mending a fishing net that smells of rot. He looks up as the researcher passes, nods once, then returns to his work. His hands move slowly, careful and tired. The researcher feels eyes on his back, not sharp, not angry. Watching at the center of the village stands a small, open square. The dirt here is packed hard, marked with faint footprints layered over one another. A stone platform rises from the ground, cracked at the edges. On it stands a bell. It is taller than expected, thick, heavy. Its surface is blackened, not with soot, but with time. Symbols are carved along its rim, worn down until they are almost smooth. The rope that once rang, it hangs in two short pieces, cut clean through, fibers stiff and frayed. The bell should not be able to ring. The researcher circles it slowly. His fingers hover near the metal but do not touch. The air around it feels cool air. He pulls his hand back. A man clears his throat behind him. "You're early," the man says. The researcher turns. The man smiles, small and careful. He wears simple clothes, neatly kept. His hair is grey, pulled back tight. "I didn't know there was a time," the researcher replies. The man's smile widens slightly. People arrive when they do. "How long has this village been here?" the researcher asks. The man looks past him toward the houses. "You must be tired. You should eat." Another woman appears, carrying a tray. On it sits a bowl of rice and a cup of steaming tea. The steam rises straight up, unbroken. The researcher hesitates. "I just asked you." "Should eat," the woman says gently. Her voice is soft but firm. "Travel takes more than it gives." He takes the bowl. It is warm, real. His stomach tightens as he realizes how hungry he is. "Thank you," he says. They watch him as he eats. Not closely, not obviously. Still, he feels their attention settle on him like weight. When he finishes, the bowl is taken away at once. "Is there a place I can stay?" he asks. The man nods. The guest house is open. It sits at the far edge of the village, where the house is thin and the land drops off into trees. The building is larger than the others, but just as dark. Its door opens without a sound. Inside, the air smells of dust and old wood. A single window faces the valley, its glass clouded. A bed rests against the wall, neatly made. No mirror hangs anywhere. A small table holds a lantern, unlit. "You can rest," the man says from the doorway. Night comes quickly here. "How do I leave in the morning?" the researcher asks. The man pauses. His face remains calm. "We'll see." The door closes. The day passes slowly. The researcher walks the village paths, counting houses. He loses track after 30. Some stand empty, doors sealed tight. Others show signs of life. Smoke from chimneys, soft footsteps inside. Murmured voices that stop when he draws near. No children appear, no animals at one house. He hears laughter. It sounds thin and far away, like an echo remembered wrong. By late afternoon, the fog thickens again. The village lights flicker on one by one, yellow and low. The bell stands silent in the square, its cut rope swaying slightly. The researcher returns to the guest house. He eats another meal left on the table. He does not see who brings it. Night settles. The lantern glows softly, casting long shadows that stretch and bend across the walls. The silence deepens. Even his own movements feel too loud. He lies on the bed, fully clothed. A footstep sounds outside. Slow, measured. Then another. They pass the window, moving left to right. He sits up, listening. The steps do not stop. They circle the building, steady. And patient. One set becomes two. Then three. He stands and moves closer to the door. He does not open it. The footsteps continue. No voices. No coughs. No signs of life beyond the sound of movement. Hours seem to pass. The researcher feels no fear spike, no rush of panic. Instead, a dull pressure settles in his chest. A sense of being placed exactly where he should be, as if the village is complete now. The footsteps fade just before dawn. When the light returns, pale and grey, the village looks unchanged. Quiet, waiting. The researcher steps outside. Several villagers stand nearby, already awake. They nod as he passes. One of them smiles, not with joy, with relief. He looks back at the guest house, at the narrow paths, at the bell in the square. The feeling settles fully now. The village does. You not watch him to see what he will do. It watches to see if he will stay. The morning feels thinner than the day before. Light seeps into the guest house like weak breath, pale and unsure. The researcher wakes early, not from sound, but from the sense that something nearby has shifted. The room looks the same. The bed, the table, the wall, still. Something is missing. He sits up and scans the space. There is no mirror. He had not noticed before, but now the absence feels loud. Not just here. He thinks back to the houses he passed, the guest house, the common hall, even the small wash area behind the building. No mirrors anywhere. He rubs his face with his hands, feeling the rough skin, the shape of his jaw, as if to confirm himself. When he lowers his hands, the room gives him nothing back. Outside, the village moves slowly, the same careful steps, the same soft greetings. He follows the narrow paths again, watching more closely now. A woman pours water from a bucket into a basin. The surface ripples. He glances down, expecting to see her face. The water stays empty. He stops walking. The woman straightens and meets his eyes. Her face shows no surprise, no fear. She lifts the bucket and walks away, leaving the basin trembling until the water stills again. The researcher's heart beats harder. Further down the path, two men carry a bundle of firewood. Their movements lag, just slightly. One lifts his foot. The other lifts his a breath later, like a shadow that cannot quite keep up. He tells himself it is tired eyes, bad light. Still, the feeling stays. At the edge of the village, the houses thin. Several stand closed, their doors sealed with heavy boards. The air here feels colder. The fog hangs thicker, refusing to move. He steps closer. Don't. The voice comes from behind. He turns. An elderly man stands a few feet away. His back is bent. His hair is white and thin. He leans on a wooden cane, polished smooth by years of use. You shouldn't go there, the man says. Why? The researcher asks. The man's eyes flick to the empty houses, then back. Those homes are quiet for a reason. Where did the people go? The man tightens his grip on the cane. Best not to ask. The researcher nods slowly. What? About after sunset? Can I walk then? The man shakes his head at once. Never wander after dark, and never speak names you don't understand. Names of who? The man does not answer. He turns and walks away, his steps slow but steady. The warning stays. That afternoon, rain begins without sound. Fine drops settle on the dirt, darkening it. The village seems to pull inward. Doors close. Lights dim, the researcher returns to the guest house and kneels near the floor. One of the boards near the bed looks loose. He presses down. It shifts. Carefully, he lifts it. Beneath, wrapped in cloth, lies a stack of journals. They smell old, damp. The pages are thin and brittle at the edges. He opens the first dot. The handwriting is neat, careful. Day 12. They told me not to worry, that it takes time to feel at home. The next pages speak of days blending together, of routines, of comfort that feels earned too quickly. The last sentence trails off midline. The second journal is different. The handwriting is messy, sharp. They don't answer when I ask how long they've been here. They smile instead. It ends the same way. A sentence cut short. There are many journals, different styles, different years written inside the covers, all unfinished. A chill moves through him, slow and deep. Footsteps sound outside the door. He slides the journals back under the floor and replaces the board. A woman stands in the doorway, holding a bowl. You should eat, she says. Who stayed here before me? He asks. She pauses, just for a breath. Travelers. What happened to them? Her smile is polite. They rested. He takes the bowl. Do people ever leave? Her eyes soften. Some do, but not all, he says. She does not deny it. As evening comes, the fog thickens again. The researcher walks toward the square. A few villagers gather there, standing apart from one another. The bell looms above them, dark and silent. He notices something carved into the stone platform beneath it. A name, worn, nearly erased. He squints, trying to read it. A villager beside him whispers, "Don't." Too late. The name slips from his mouth, soft, barely a sound. The air changes. Every movement stops. The villagers turn toward him, faces calm but tight. The fog seems to pull closer, pressing in. The researcher feels the word echo inside his chest, heavy and wrong. I didn't mean, he begins. The elderly caretaker steps forward. That name is not for the living. I'm sorry, The researcher says. The caretaker studies him for a long moment. Then he nods. Be careful tonight. No one speaks after that. Night falls fast. The researcher lies awake in the guest house, listening. The lantern flickers, then steadies. His heart beats slow and loud. Then the bell rings. Once the sound does not travel through the air. It passes through him. A deep note that settles in his bones. Pressing against old memories he does not recognize. He gasps, sitting up. Images flash behind his eyes. A room he has never seen. A voice calling a name he does not remember. The weight of regret, thick and warm, like blood. He grips the bed frame, breathing hard. The bell stays silent. Outside, the fog swirls, alive with shadow. The researcher realizes then that the village is not haunted by the dead. It is haunted by Bimhai, what people refuse to face, and somewhere in the dark it has begun to remember him. The fog does not lift after the bell rings. It thickens instead, settling low and close, pressing against the ground like a heavy blanket. The researcher steps outside the guest house before sunrise, heart still beating unevenly from the night. The air feels damp and cold, but familiar now, like clothes worn too long. He tells himself he will leave today. He follows the path back toward the slope where the road once was. His steps are quick at first, driven by need more than thought. The village is quiet behind him. No voices, no movement, just the soft sound of his shoes on dirt. The path curves, then curves again. He slows. The trees ahead look wrong, too close, too similar. He stops and turns around. The guest house stands behind him, exactly where it was before. A tight feeling settles in his chest. He tries another route, cutting between houses, following what he remembers from the first morning. The path narrows, bends, opens into a small clearing with a stone well. He has seen this well already. He circles it once, twice, no matter which way he walks. The village folds him back into itself. Corners repeat. Doorways appear again. The bell tower rises ahead each time, patient and unmoving. He sits on a low step, breathing hard. A woman approaches, carrying folded cloth. She stops when she sees him. You look tired, she says. I'm trying to leave, he replies. She nods, like she understands. Most people are. Why can't I? He asks. She considers this. Because you came back. I've never been here before. She smiles, gentle and sad. That's what they all say. The words sink slowly. He watches her walk away, her step steady, practiced. He realizes then that he has never seen her arrive. None of them arrive. They are simply there. The caretaker finds him later near the square. The old man's face looks heavier today, lines deeper, eyes dull with memory. You rang the bell last night, the caretaker says. I didn't touch it. No, the man agrees. It rang for you. They sit on the edge of the platform. The bell looms above them, silent, waiting. This place doesn't like to be written down, the caretaker continues. Maps can't hold it. Time can't hold it either. What is it? The researcher asks. The caretaker taps his cane against the stone. A pause. For what? For people who didn't finish what they started. The researcher thinks of the journals, the broken sentences. Are you alive? He asks. The caretaker looks at him. Some days I remember being so, and the others. We are what stays when leaving fails. The researcher feels a chill, not from fear but from recognition. Memories stir again, closer now. A hospital hallway, the smell of disinfectant. A phone vibrating in his hand while he watched it ring. I didn't come here on purpose, he says. No one does, the caretaker replies. You came because you turned back. The words strike deep. The researcher stands and walks away. Before the man can say more, his thoughts race, pulling at old threads. He walks without looking where he is going, letting the village guide him. He passes the empty houses again. This time, one door stands open. Inside, dust coats the floor in. Thick layers. Furniture sits covered with cloth. A table holds a framed photo, turned face down. He lifts it. The photo shows a man standing beside a river, younger, smiling. The researcher recognizes the face with a jolt. It is him, not as he is now, but close enough to make his hand shake. He drops the frame. The room feels smaller. The walls press in. His breath comes fast. He remembers now. The trip he never took. The visit he kept delaying. The call he let go unanswered because he thought there would be time later. There was not. He backed away from the memory for years, telling himself it wasn't his fault, that nothing would have changed, that leaving was easier than staying with the pain. The village feels warmer suddenly, quieter, inviting. He spends the rest of the day drifting through routines. He eats when food is offered. He helps carry water. He sits with villagers who speak little but not often. Time loses its shape. The peace feels real. That night, he almost believes he could stay. Almost the bell rings again. Once the sound settles deeper this time, pressing against his ribs, stirring. The memory he tried to bury. He sees the river again. Hears his name spoken with disappointment, not anger. He stands. The caretaker waits near the bell. You can stay, the old man says softly. It gets easier. The days smooth out. The edges fade. And if I don't, the researcher asks, then you remember. The fog pulls close around them. The village holds its breath. The researcher looks at the bell, at the cut rope, at the faces around him, calm and worn thin by time. He understands now. This place feeds on return. Not bodies, but choices left undone. It grows quiet on the weight of unspoken things. It offers rest to those who are too tired to face what waits. Beyond it, he steps toward the bell. The caretaker nods once. The village watches. And for the first time since arriving, the researcher feels the road ahead not as a path, but as a question he must finally answer. The bell's echo fades before the sky begins to change. The night loosens its grip slowly, like a hand opening one finger at a time. The fog still blankets the village, but it no longer feels heavy. It drifts instead of pressing down. The researcher stands at the base of the bell tower, hands cold, heart steady for the first time since arriving. He knows what he has to do. The caretaker waits nearby, leaning on his cane. His eyes are fixed on the horizon, not on the man beside. Him, you don't have to say it out loud, the caretaker says. The place hears it anyway. The researcher nods. His throat feels tight, but his breath stays even. He steps away from the square, not toward the edge of the village, but inward. He walks until the houses thin and the ground dips. The fog opens into a narrow stretch of land he has not seen before. At its center stands a shape made of shadow and stone, a ruin. Broken walls rise from the earth, half swallowed by moss and time. The stones are older than the village houses, older than memory. This place feels like the first wound. He steps inside. The air smells of damp stone and old rain. His footsteps echo softly. The sound feels honest here. Nothing tries to soften it. At the far wall, a shallow pool of water reflects the dim sky. The surface is still. He kneels, this time. The water shows his face, clear, pale, tired behind the reflection. Another image forms. A hospital room, white walls, a bed to clean, to feel kind. The sound of a monitor marking time in flat, steady beats. He remembers standing in the doorway, remembering the weight of his phone in his pocket, remembering the thought that came before he turned away. I'll come back later. The water ripples as his breath breaks. I didn't want to see you like that, he says softly to the memory. I told myself I'd remember you better this way. The reflection does not argue. He reaches out and touches the water. Cold spreads through his fingers. I was afraid, he continues, and I left. The words feel heavy but clean. The fog shifts. Light moves across the ruin's walls, pale and steady. The sky above lightens from grey to soft blue. Dawn arrives. Without drama, just quiet change. The village appears beyond the ruin, clearer now. For the first time, he sees it fully. It is not whole. Beneath the wooden houses lie older shapes, stone foundations, collapsed roofs, paths layered over paths, each one worn smooth, then buried, then walked again. Generations folded into one place, repeating the same return. The village was never built. It gathered. People stand at the edge of the square, watching him. Some faces soften as the light grows. Others look tense, uncertain. A woman clutches the cloth at her chest. A man steps back into shadow. The caretaker meets his eyes across the distance. The researcher stands. The fog thins further, pulling back toward the trees. The slope where the road once vanished comes into view. A path stretches upward. It looks narrow, uneven, real. He walks toward it. No one stops him. As he passes the caretaker, the old man nods. Thank you, he says. For what? The researcher asks. For remembering, the caretaker replies. The first step up the path feels heavy. The ground shifts slightly beneath his foot, like it is deciding whether to hold him. It does, with each step, the village behind him grows quieter, not silent, but settled, like a breath released. He does not look back. The fog closes in behind him, soft and slow, erasing the village inch by inch. Houses fade. The bell tower dissolves into grey. The ruin vanishes last, its stones sinking back into the earth. The path remains when he reaches the top. The fog thins again. Trees part. Gravel crunches underfoot. The road waits. His car sits where he left it, untouched, cold, real. He opens the door and sits inside. The familiar smell of fabric and dust fills his lungs. He rests his hands on the wheel and closes his eyes for a moment. When he opens them, the road behind him is gone. Only trees and fog remain. He starts the engine. The drive down the mountain feels longer than before. The fog lifts fully as the sun rises, warming the air, drying the road. Birds call from the trees. The world sounds awake. At the first town, he stops for fuel. The station looks ordinary, solid. The clerk nods as he pays. Quiet road up there. The clerk says, "Yes," the researcher replies. "It is." Later, weeks pass. Life settles into shape again. Work resumes. Days stack neatly. He sleeps better. One evening, he opens his computer and checks the maps. The mountain range shows. The towns show. The road he took appears as a thin line that stops where it always did. Nothing new fills the empty space beyond. No village, no mark. He closes the screen. Outside the night is calm. Somewhere far away, fog gathers in a place without a name, waiting. For those who are not ready to keep going. But for now, the road holds, and the map at last ends where it should.